Well, here at Western, you're the second winningest coach in history. In your second season, you led this team to an undisputed Missouri Valley Conference title. Then it was known as the Gateway Conference. You've had top scoring and passing teams while here at Western. You reached number 1 in 2003. And here, these numbers just stick out to me so much. You've produced 108 all-conference honorees, 34 academic all-conference selections, 59 All-Americans, including 2 consensus All-Americans, 2 academic All-Americans, and then you have so many players that have went and played in the NFL, from Ed Hartwell, Will Peterson, just recently Jason Williams and Herb Donaldson, Mike Cyphris, Rich Soibert. I mean, what does this all say about you as a coach overall and a recruiter as well?
Well, it says that we did a good job of selling Western Illinois, I think. And when I say we, I'd be remiss if I didn't include all the assistant coaches in the recruiting process. It's very much a team effort. The head coach and the quarterback always get too much credit when you win. The bad side of that coin, Derek, is the head coach and the quarterback get too much blame when you lose. But I learned early on, if you can't deal with that, then you better not be a head coach, and you certainly better not be a quarterback. But our assistant coaches did a great job. We had really good staffs through the years. A lot of those coaches have gone on to bigger and better jobs than what we could offer here at Western Illinois. But I'm very proud to have been part of their development as coaches too. A couple of examples: Brian Van Gorder is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons now, and Brian would tell you if he were here that the most enjoyable year he ever had in coaching was at Western Illinois University. It was that 2000 season where we did win an undisputed Gateway title. Another example is Bobby Diaco, who is now the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. I'm very proud of Bobby for his development as a coach, and he would tell you it all started right here in Macomb, Illinois.
Great players, great coaches, a lot of great things coming out of the Western Illinois football program. Well, some tragedy struck this program 2 seasons ago when you battled with tonsillar cancer, and you beat it. Talk about the effects it's had on you, your family, and the team.
Well, cancer's a 4-letter word in my mind. You might spell it with more than 4, but it really is a difficult process to go through. You're right. I think it was early July or late June, actually, late June of 2008. I knew I'd had some difficulty with my jaw. I'd had an earache. I had a jaw ache. I thought maybe I had a tooth infection because I'd missed my 6-month checkup with my dentist. But when I went to Dr. Passmore, he took one look at me and he said, "Coach, you need to go see Dr. Miller." And I could tell by the way he looked at me, I had a problem. And I went out to my car and looked in the rearview mirror, and one side of my mouth was pink, the way it's supposed to be, but the other side of the back of my mouth was purple. And purple is not good. I went to Dr. Miller a couple of days later, as quickly as I could get to him, and he said, "Coach, I'm no expert, but I believe you have tonsillar cancer." And lucky for us, University of Iowa was close by. I was able to get a quick doctor's appointment over there, and they confirmed just a couple of days later that in fact I did have 4th-stage tonsillar cancer. The good news about tonsillar cancer, Derek, as Dr. Chang explained to me back then, you're probably not going to die from it. We have a great hospital here, and we're probably, because of radiation and chemotherapy, we're probably going to be able to beat this. But the bad news is the treatment is really despicable. The treatment's very difficult. A tumor in your throat, and that's what I had. To knock it out with radiation, I lost half my salivary glands. Chemotherapy also makes it more difficult. When I first went into treatment, I weighed 215 pounds, and I'll be the first to admit I was a little bit overweight at that point in time. I was like most people, 58 years old. I'd gained a couple of pounds, or 3 or 4 or 5, or more like 10 or 15. But then 30 days after starting treatment, I'd lost 30 pounds. And at that point, down to 185, they told me, "Coach, you can't lose any more weight because it's going to affect your recovery from all this treatment." So then I got really serious about taking in fluids through a feeding tube that they'd given me. I had that feeding tube, Derek, for 11 months, and really it was a lifeline for me. If I hadn't had the tube, I would have starved to death. So I'm really grateful for the School of Medicine at Iowa and for the job that the doctors did. Sure enough, Dr. Chang was right. That tumor was gone a few months later, all because of the amazing capacity of radiation and chemotherapy. And to this day, I'm cancer-free. No recurrence of cancer now, 17 months after I finished treatment. But when I did finish treatment, I was about 180 pounds, I guess. And it was difficult, but I was determined to get back with the team, and I did as quickly as I could. The doctors wanted to be sure I understood. I was really jeopardizing my health to do it, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it worked out that way. And when I finally lost my feeding tube 11 months after it was put in, then I lost more weight. I was down to 166 pounds last summer. But don't worry about me. As I told the team, don't worry about Coach P. He's not going to starve to death. And right now I'm 181 pounds. I've gained 15 pounds back, and it's a little easier to eat now after all these months than it was back then. It's still difficult. Some things I can't eat very well, but again, Derek, don't worry about me. I'm going to be fine.
Well, we're happy that you're doing better and good now. And just to shore everything up, right now, 100%. You're perfectly fine. Everything's gone, and things are good, right, Coach?
That's true. No recurrence of cancer at all. I'm hoping to coach again. I don't know if I'll get that opportunity or not. I'd like to think so, but 59 years old, having recovered from cancer, a lot of people are kind of nervous of hiring a guy in that age bracket. So I honestly don't know if I'll get another coaching opportunity or not. I hope to coach again, but the way I'll look at it, even if I never get to, I've been really blessed. I had 32 years of college football to think about and to remember very fondly. And I guess the most significant thing there, I've had a chance to make an impact on young lives and to help young people to grow up a little bit. And that's an awesome responsibility, but it's one that I always embraced. And fairly often, Derek, a player will call up just out of the blue and say, "Coach, I never properly thanked you for making a difference in my life." And believe me, those phone calls mean a lot to an old coach.
Oh, I bet. Well, let's rewind just a little bit if we can. And you kind of touched on it coming back from the cancer during to finish up that 2008 season. What was it like not being able to be on the sidelines for those first few games? I know the first game of that season at Arkansas, this team fought hard, and I know you had some words for the team after the game, but what was it like just not being able to be with them to start that season?
It's difficult to explain what it was like. I lose track on how many games. I think it was 352 games, as I recall. 352 consecutive games for me as a coach, either as an assistant coach or as a head coach. And all of a sudden, I missed number 353, and I also had to miss 354 and 355. It was really agonizing because I wanted to be there in the worst way, and yet I was pretty much flat on my back in early September. The treatments start to really take a toll on you. You have 35 different radiation treatments spread out over 7 weeks, and by the time you finish radiation and chemo, it's all you can do to get out of bed at the end of those 7 weeks. You're very, very weak, and you're not in very good shape physically. So even though I was really suffering physically, my mind was still good, and I still did have a motivational message for the team that Coach Hendrickson shared with the team before that Arkansas game, and our guys played so well in that game. I did call Mark up after the game and pass the message to the team. I've never been more proud of a team in defeat in my lifetime than what I was against Arkansas. As you know, they converted on 4th and 10. And if they hadn't converted on 4th and 10 on that last drive, then we would have won the game. That was a tough year. We lost some other close games. We had a very good football team. Was not able to make the playoffs that year. That was difficult for all of us. But the truth of it is, I think players and coaches alike recognized the one thing that ordeals like cancer treatment will do for you. It'll cause you to realize that some things are more important than football games. And there's nothing more important than being alive and having your family and friends to make a difference in your life, and you have a chance to maybe make a difference in their lives too. So it puts everything in proper focus. The most important thing is to have your health and have your family, and I'm very blessed to have a great family and have better health than what I had a while back in time.
Well, it was good, and for this past season, the 2009 season, clean bill of health. Your team returns to the field. Start off with a big win at Sam Houston State, and then you drop your next 2 games after that, heading into the off week. How rough was that after that great, fantastic finish to that first game against Sam Houston State?
The Sam Houston game was enjoyable to me because I was from Texas and had a lot of family there, and we just outscored them. You know, we threw for 400 plus yards.
Yeah.
They couldn't defend the pass very well, and we took full advantage of them. It's the only game I can ever recall where we warmed up and started playing. That was different. We had a weather delay, as you recall, and it was a TV game, so they asked us if we were comfortable with that. Once we had the go in terms of weather, we knew as we took the field to warm up, we were going to start the game in 30 minutes. So it was a little bit like a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Warm up and start playing. And we did that, and thankfully we played better than Sam Houston. We did lose to a very good Northern Illinois team the following week, and then lost 40-30 to a very good Stephen F. Austin team in Game 3. I remember saying after the game, I think Stephen F. Austin's going to go on and have a fine season. Come to think of it, so did Northern Illinois.
Yes.
Northern Illinois is a bowl team, and deservedly so. And Stephen F. Austin went to the Elite Eight. They ended their playoff run at the University of Montana, and we all know that Montana is a tough place to play.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin, we've kind of seen that team the past few years playing down in Nacogdoches. They've come up here the past couple years, but just seeing that team build, they really got something going there at Stephen F. Austin. They showed it this past season when they were finally able to defeat the Leathernecks.
Very true. It's a very difficult offense to defend. We had a lot of trouble with it. They put 40 on us, but they put a lot of points on a lot of teams. They were a very good football team.
Well, Coach, having the season cut short, had to feel pretty bad. How anxious are you to get back to coaching? And when do you envision yourself back on the sidelines? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but you got to envision yourself out there. Hopefully, someday, hopefully soon, here in the future.
Well, I've always been an optimist, Derek, and I'm still one. But I'm also a realist. I realize with my age and with a past history of health problems, I may not get another opportunity. For me to get one at this point in time, it's probably going to have to go something like this. Maybe an NFL coach that's maybe older than I am, even maybe in his mid-60s. He realizes just now that he has a serious health problem, and he retires from coaching. And that doesn't mean that I'll get his coaching position with that fictitious NFL team that we're imagining about right now, imaginary team, I guess you could call it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If it was with the Atlanta Falcons, I'd certainly have a chance because Brian Van Gorder would put in a good word for me.
There you go.
But more likely, if a coach does retire unexpectedly at this time of the year, here in late April, that position will probably be filled by an experienced college coach that's maybe younger than I am, that maybe has a better tie with that particular NFL team. And with a little bit of luck, he'll be leaving a college job maybe at one of those schools that knows a lot about Coach P. And those schools are fairly obvious. University of Oklahoma, again, because of Bobby Stoops. Kansas State, because of Bill Snyder. Iowa, because of Kirk Ferentz. Wisconsin, because of Brett Bielema. University of Texas, because of Mac Brown, who's an old friend. Those are some schools where I have strong ties. Ohio State University, because Jim Tressel knows about Leatherneck football, because he went up against us a couple of times when he was at Youngstown. So if I was fortunate enough for one of those programs to have an opening, then I think I would get some consideration there. But even then, Derek, it's got to be the right position, because football is so specialized. I'm an expert on quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends. I've been an offensive coordinator. I've been a head coach, of course. But if it's a defensive line opening or a linebacker opening, they shouldn't hire me because that's not my expertise.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could call Jason Williams, Herb Donaldson there on the Cowboys. Put in a good word to Jerry Jones, get Wade Phillips out of there. You're in. I like it.
Well,
I
was thinking maybe with your ties to Jerry Jones, maybe you could get that done yourself.
I'll give him a call when we get off the air. Well, let me ask you this. Would you ever consider taking, an advisor or something in the front office in the NFL?
I would certainly consider some kind of front office job with an NFL team. The one thing I think I could do pretty well, I think I could be a good judge of personnel and some kind of player personnel job. I think I could do a good job with that because I do have 32 years of college experience and, of course, 20 years in the Big Ten. I've seen a lot of great football players come through the Big Ten. And who we kidding? I've seen a lot of really good players come through this conference too, or specifically through Western Illinois. So I do think I would be effective in judging personnel. I always seem to have good success with the players I pick to recruit, either at Iowa or here. So I would certainly consider those positions.
Well, thank you so much, Coach, for your time. We wish you the best of luck in the future.